instead of saying you can afford 3 million, you go and see what the rental return for that apartment is. You're not the guy who could have, would have, should have. You're the guy that actually did because you were prepared. That's the key to investing.
I think firstly it's more convenient for us to commute to office. Our friend circle are here.
Our friends are clear by. Big Indian community. That is an interesting point. All right, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, welcome to another episode of The Real Deal. Remember, it's not about being right, it's about getting it right. And today, we're trying to get it right for our friend Saral here.
Hi
Saral. Welcome on.
I'm good, thanks.
Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah.
Why don't you start off by telling us a little something about yourself? The audience doesn't know you.
Okay, so my name is Saral. I've been in Dubai from last 8 years as a senior manager.
Okay.
And my wife works with RTA as a specialist.
She works at the RTA?
Yeah.
Okay. It's good to know.
Yeah. We rent a space, 3+ maid.
3-bedroom plus maid?
Right, yes.
Okay, cool. You have a dog as well, I believe?
Yes, I have one a brown husky, so that's why we met.
Yeah, that's how we know each other through the dog. So that's awesome, man. So husband, wife, kid, and a dog.
Yes, and a maid.
And a maid. So 3-bedroom plus maids is where you're at right now.
Yes, right.
Now, how long have you been in Dubai, by the way?
8 years now.
8 years?
Yes.
Okay, so you've been
plus,
here about as long as I have, honestly.
Yes.
Almost. Yeah,
Almost,
okay, cool. And I understand now you're planning to buy a place, or you're thinking about buying a
Yes.
place.
So initial plan was to save money, send back home.
Yeah.
Do some investment in India.
Yeah.
And then buy a place over here.
Can I ask you first, before anything else, because a lot of our viewers will be thinking the same things, will be in similar positions. I just want to understand why now?
Because I think we are being in that position that we can afford an EMI.
Yeah.
Because
So personally, you're in a financial position. Okay.
Now we feel that we should be having our own space.
Okay.
Because we have that kind of money now to to pay the EMIs and then also have a normal life, luxurious life, whatever we can afford over here.
Right. So without compromising, you can afford to pay for a place. And now that you're able to do that, you want to actually get into your own place instead of paying rent.
Yeah,
Love that. Absolutely love it. And that's good, because for the past 8 years you've been paying rent.
Yes.
For the next 8 years, if you save on rent, that's just positive.
Yes, right.
Excellent. Okay. So now, what is it that you have in mind?
See, so I'm a little confused between a villa and apartment.
Okay.
Right now, because we have been living in an apartment from last 8 years.
Okay.
And back home, we have the habit of living in a villa kind of koti, whatever you call it.
Right.
back home.
So back home is an independent villa
Villas,
in India.
India. So
And over here it's an apartment. Okay.
So right now, because the villas are going to be far from where we work, so
Right.
commuting is a problem.
Oh,
We don't
yes.
want to waste our time in commuting, like 1 hour, 2 hours a day on
Yep.
commuting.
Yep.
So it's like between two minds. What should we do? Plus the cost factor is also going to be there. Yeah.
Okay. So you're confused whether you want to buy a villa or apartment.
Yes, right.
That's the main thing.
Yes, that's the main thing. And which area we should buy an apartment if we have to go for that.
All right. Okay. So that's a whole set of things. So let's simplify it a little.
Yes.
Here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to figure out what you can afford and what our maximum budget is going to be. And I'll explain to you a couple of different ways to think about that. Then what we'll do is we'll weigh out the pros and cons of apartments versus villas, and we'll try and figure out what might be better for you. And what happens here is usually we all work on our biases. We're used to the way things are at home. Things over here are different. We'll try and tackle some of those, let's say, preconceived notions. And I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'll just give you a different way to think about it. So you've got something to take home at the end of the day. And it's not just going to be subjective. We'll try and work with actual data. And I'll show you where to find that data as well.
Okay.
So that you can actually sit down and make your own little analysis, but more importantly, have some sort of plan.
Okay.
Instead of just looking at the market all over. Okay. First things first is we have to figure out what you can afford.
Okay.
Now, I want you to first tell me what you think you can afford in terms of the total property cost, and we'll work backwards.
Okay, so I think what we can afford is in the range of maybe around 3 million, something.
So 3 million range. Okay.
Not beyond 3, but we can stretch till 3.
Okay, cool. And you planning on taking a mortgage or?
Yeah, definitely.
So definitely a mortgage. Great. And the great thing about mortgage is we can actually work backwards pretty easily.
Yes.
Now, if it's 3 million, this is your first mortgage in Dubai?
Yeah, first.
So you're eligible for 80%.
Yeah. Okay.
80% of 3 million should be about 2.2, 2.3, something like that. So here's how I want you to think about it.
Okay.
Instead of saying you can afford 3 million, wherever you go. So this is the step one is, let's say you want an apartment in a certain area. You narrow down to the apartments that you can afford under 3 million, let's say. Then you go and see what the rental return for that apartment is. Not the purchase price, the rental return. And I'll explain exactly why in a minute. You take that rental return and reduce it by 20%. Why am I saying this? Okay, the idea is, the thing about investment is not about when you can invest, it's more about how you can invest to insulate yourself from market shocks. Because Dubai is a little bit more volatile. It could go up or down in the future. We've seen so far that it tends to recover. So we've got a little bit more faith in the local market these days, which is why a lot of people are actually getting into the market, which is great. But we need to be safe, right? Like you said, you've just gotten to the point where you can afford it, and so why would you want to ruin that in the future, right? So I always go worst case scenario, and I will make a plan for you for the worst case scenario, so that you can basically go to bed easy even if you buy anything, as long as you stick to that budget. Okay. And you can deviate as much as you want. This is just one way of doing things.
I mean, 5-10% deviation.
Absolutely, exactly. So now you talked about executive towers, right?
Yes, right. Yeah.
If we take that building alone, and if we talk about the rental you might get for a 3-bedroom, I looked this up earlier because I did a little bit of homework. What they're asking right now is between 180 and 220, depending on the size.
Okay.
Now, assuming a median of, let's say, 190, right? On the lower side.
On the lower side, yeah.
I'm going to reduce 20% of that. Okay. So 190 minus 20% is minus 38,000.
Yeah.
So 40,000. 150. In a down market, in a market that's in a recession, 150 for a 3-bedroom is what you should be able to get. Not today, but on the worst case scenario.
Okay.
Now the worst case scenario is not you having to say lose your job and leave. The worst case scenario is you having to lose your job at a time when the market is down. That is the absolute worst case. That is why I'm being so conservative.
Okay.
If you lose your job, and I hope that never happens to anyone, but if Saral loses his job tomorrow, I want him to be able to leave the house, rent it out, and go to India or go wherever he finds a job. Because who knows, right? We'll go to wherever we have a job, whatever pays the bills.
Yeah.
But if you leave, I don't want you to ever be in a position where you have to sell your property for money. That means it will be a distress sale because you will be in the worst possible position. Remember, we do not want to be the distressed sellers. We want to buy from distressed sellers, but we don't want to be distressed sellers. That's the key. So now,
makes sense.
I have the figure of 150.
150, yeah.
If you're getting 150,000, that's your rent, right?
Yeah, okay.
It's not. What people don't take into account is service charges.
Service charges.
So, service charge in ET is roughly 18 per square foot, right?
Feet, yeah.
Now, 18 per square foot for, let's say 2,000 square foot. Just ballpark figures again, 36,000.
Yeah.
So what you're actually getting is more like 115,000 net. Okay? That's okay. That's not a problem. Now, 115,000, ideally, if you want that to be 10%, you should be able to get the property for 1.1, 1.2 million, which is not going to happen. Let's be honest about that. That's not going to happen. So let's take the figure 150 because we have to be somewhat realistic. And times that by 12, right? 1.8 million. This is still not close. Now, what that tells me is that in this property, if things go south, you're not going to get the price that will insulate you against shocks.
Okay.
Right? And I'm being very conservative. I know it's a bit much, but if you do get this, it's fantastic. If you get something for 2 million, basically, 3-bedroom, 2 million, it's $1,000 a square foot. That is a deal that you should take today. So if you find a desperate seller that says not 2 million, it says 2.4, 2.5 million, right? Because I'm being very conservative, that's a buy. You know that's a buy because we've worked out the math and you will be secure. Now, this is only one side of the equation. The other side of the equation is if you have something for 3 million, what is your monthly installment going to be?
Yeah, it will be...
Have you worked it out? Now, purchase price is, let's call that 3 million.
3 million,
right? UAE resident, down payment of, let's say, how much did you say you can do?
20%.
600,000?
Yeah, 600,000.
So let's say 600,000, and you're not very old, so you can definitely get at least a 20-year loan.
20 years old.
Right?
Yes,
That's 14,500.
Okay. Yeah.
That is your return right now. Now, 14,500 times 12 will give you 174,000.
Mm.
So that if you need to rent it out, it needs to at least pay
Just
174. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Can you get 174 in the current market? Yes. I can tell
but
you,
then you have to pay the service charges.
you got to
That
pay the
is-
service charges, and that comes out of your pocket.
Yeah.
So you should aim for 200,000, and then you just need to top it up at 10,000 dirhams per year. So here's what we do. Now we can't really do any better than this.
Yeah, definitely.
Unfortunately. So either you look for a lower purchase
Purchase
price, or you insulate yourself from shocks. Now this is all assuming you want to buy an apartment in Executive Towers.
Towers, yeah.
And the reason Executive Towers is fine is because it is the best price per square foot you're going to get in downtown / Business Bay. Now there are a couple of other buildings I noticed around the area that have similar things, but they're usually on that side of the canal.
Okay.
So for value, I think ET is a pretty good value in this part of town, and you have larger floor plans, not small units like
Yes,
the new
you're
ones.
right.
So I think it's not a bad option. Very family friendly, very convenient. You got lots of restaurants, lots of everything really.
Yeah.
But you can't get the best price in the current market.
Yeah.
This is normal because the current market doesn't really lend itself to amazing prices. So what we have to do is insulate ourselves. So what I want you to do is, you have 600 aside, but I want you to have an emergency fund.
Okay.
Tomorrow if you leave, you need to bring this value down to something that is equivalent to 120 a month.
Oh, okay.
So how do we do that? We just take this slider up and bring that down to 120,000 a year is a 12,000, no less, 10,000 a month, right?
Yeah.
So 10,000 a month, 1.3 million.
Okay.
So you need another 700,000
For my
emergency
emergency
fund,
fund.
right? Okay, so this is all getting a bit complicated. So let me break this down for everyone. First things first, he set up a budget of 3 million.
Yes.
And we've looked at his sort of pick of the area, which is Executive Towers, which is a huge condominium complex that has really good price per square foot performance. That is to say, you get a lot for your money compared to all the buildings around. The problem is, now the rents are high right now, but the prices are also high, and the rents in comparison with the prices are roughly at 7.5% for this property. Which means if the property value goes down and if the rent goes down, you may not be able to pay your mortgages, which are currently at 4-5%.
Yes.
What you can do is you can go ahead and buy it, and we already established if you get something for 2.5 million, we've calculated that is just good value. So if there's a distressed deal, you should call up a broker and say, look, if there's a distressed deal, this is what I want. I know it's hard to get, but the day you do it, I can sign in 2 days. That's the deal I want. And just, keep checking in with him every week. Why not?
Why not? Okay.
Maybe he'll say, okay, we can get 2.6.
2.6, yeah. Okay.
Even that is 400,000 less than the cheapest thing on the market now. Well worth it. And there are always distressed sellers in every market. I promise you. Just might take a little time. The flip side is if you say, no, I don't want to waste time, because here's the deal. The flip side to waiting for a distressed deal or waiting for an off-plan deal, for example, is that you may end up waiting for months and you'll just end up paying more rent. So you lose rent. If you find the right deal, it's well worth it, but you just don't know. So the next best thing is, let's say you are okay with the 3 million, you put aside 600,000, you get that mortgage, you buy the place, you furnish it, whatever. But from that day on, you have to make sure that within the next year or two, you save up 700,000 and put it aside. That way, if you ever have to leave, you put 700,000 in the bank, you tell them, I want to pay off 700,000 more, your mortgage will come down to 10,000-ish, and then the rent is paying for it, and you don't have to let it go.
Okay.
Right? See what I'm saying? So that's the key to managing your risk.
Okay.
Now, that is if you want to buy an apartment in ET, that's your target.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, we'll talk about why ET, why an apartment versus a villa. Tell me your reasons for being this part of town, being in ET specifically. What are your reasons? I'm going to write it down, and then we're going to try and give you reasons why you should consider villas and townhouses.
I think firstly, it's more convenient for us to commute to office. It's centrally located.
Okay, commute time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus, we have a circle over here, friend circle are here.
Friends are nearby. Okay.
Yeah,
so
daughters,
support
friends
system.
are here. My dog's friends are here.
Dogs, friends, daughter friends. I get that. Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Plus, big Indian community over here. So you can.
Big Indian community. That is an interesting point. All right, that's fair. That's fair. That's something that normally I would not have thought of. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, because during festival seasons or during anything, you can come together, celebrate.
That's
and,
true. You can
know,
come together and celebrate, and that's a lot of fun if people are around. No doubt about it.
And I think it's a established community. You don't have to really worry on the basic things right now, because if you go to new communities, there would be some teething issues and all those things. But it is already established. You know, there are not much issues going on right now.
Okay.
So that's I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So established communities, no teething issues. Yeah, that's a fair point. Okay. So I'm gonna go through these. The first thing you said was commute time.
Yeah.
So in Dubai, we have this cool thing that they've given us incredible road infrastructure.
Yes.
Not necessarily the best public transport infrastructure, but that might happen in the next 20 years. Right now, the roads are good. So 40 kilometers only means 40 minutes.
Yeah, right.
So technically, if you don't mind a half-hour commute, if that's a big if, then even going half an hour outside is not a terrible idea. If you mind it, that's fine. I'm not telling you one way or the other.
Yeah, right.
The only thing is, if you don't mind the commute, then it opens up your possibilities. If you have to stay downtown, there are very few options. But if you don't mind going, say, either further east or further south, you can't go west because that's the sea, then that opens up options. And here's another interesting way to think about it with regards to commute times. Where do you work? Which part of town?
It's in Festival City.
That side of town.
That side of
Okay, cool. Festival City. First of all, there are apartments that side of town as well.
Yeah.
But second, and this is just as important, what you don't want is maybe to go south. Because if you have to take Al Khail or Sheikh Zayed Road, these are two arterial roads that go through Abu Dhabi and through all the Emirates, really. And the concept applies no matter where you are in the world. You want to stay off the heavily populated areas if you can help it, because your commute times are only going to get worse in the future as more people come into Dubai. Right? There are more expats coming in every year, and we're projected to increase population quite a bit over the next 5 years. Here's the deal. Instead of going south, consider going east. If you go east, you go towards Alain, and Alain Road is not nearly as congested as Sheikh Zayed Road.
Right now,
It's crazy. And there are a lot of villa communities out there. Now, I've calculated. I actually drove out there the other day, and it takes you about 25 minutes to get from that sort of area beyond Silicon Oasis, just beyond, to this part of town. And to your work also, it's going to take a similar amount of time. To the airport, it takes about 25 minutes, which is, in most countries, 25-minute commute is not a big deal.
Yeah, right.
So if you say, okay, let's say I'm okay with a 25-minute commute, suddenly there are options. As for friends, I can't do anything about that. You're going to have to make new friends wherever you go. Yes. If all your friends are here, then hey, that's not something I can say against, anything against. But there'll be families in all these places. You'll make new friends as well. Big Indian community, again, there's nothing I can do about that. Indian communities tend to stay in Dera, in Karama maybe, but also here in Executive Towers. Do you know of any other areas with big Indian communities?
I think Silicon Oasis, they have.
That's a good point.
JLT also.
JLT, okay.
Also, I think
well, we don't want JLT because that's again going south and we don't want that kind of traffic.
Yes.
But Silicon Oasis might be okay. If you live close to Silicon Oasis, let's say 5 minutes, 10 minutes away, then again, it's convenient for festival time.
Yeah.
Just something to think about. And finally, established communities. Look, established communities only take about 6 months to a year to establish. Even brand new communities have teething issues for a year, and then everybody's like, okay, cool. We've sorted out the issue with the, the electrical's not working in a certain part or whatever. These little snagging things happen. But now, basically, I'm thinking commute time is your biggest thing.
Yes, I
right
think
now.
So, yeah.
You can take your dog to a park, and all villa communities have parks. All villa communities have dogs.
Yeah, right.
Chances are he'll make friends there as well.
Yeah.
And you can always take 20 minutes and drive back here if you need it. Here's the thing. If your commute time is okay, you can be near a big Indian community, near Dubai Silicon Oasis, and have options for villas over there. What are the options is the next question. Well, you've got Ranches 3. You've got Nakhil Villas. You've got Aldar, which has Haven. And you've got something called Villanova Quinta, as well as Villanova La Rosa. I specifically mention Villanova and Arabian Ranches because these are, you can get a decently sized thing under 3 million. That'll be similar to the size of a 3-bedroom here. So you're not compromising on space, except now you have a garden outside for your dog, for your kid to go. And in winter, sitting outside is lovely. Those things you don't get in apartments, you get there. So, and here's the cherry on top. With a villa, service charge is negligible. Service charge is something like 3 to 4 dirhams per square foot, where in executive towers you would pay 18 dirhams per square foot. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Little tip, if you're looking to invest in Dubai, villas and townhouses are far, far, far more efficient than the executive tower apartments or any apartment. If you have a 2,000 square foot apartment in executive towers, you're paying 36,000 a year. In 10 years, you're paying 360,000. That is $100,000 gone in a decade. You could say, oh, but they will have capital appreciation. Yeah, sure, but that'll be there in the villa as well. And you will pay less than a fourth of that, less than $25,000 over 10 years. Everything else is the same. You got a water heater there, you got a water heater here. If that breaks, this can also break. These things don't really change. The only thing that changes is maintenance of garden, but then you've got a garden.
Yeah.
So, there is a strong case to be made about villas. Now, if you're open to looking for villas, what is there something it's the same price category because we have that fixed budget of 3 million.
Yes,
Right, okay. In which case, how many bedrooms would you require?
Same, 3 plus mates.
3 plus mates. Okay. So the thing I say, and this is something I said in the previous episode as well, 2 things you look for in a place and in a building / community. You look at popularity and you look at premium.
Okay.
Imar is both of those things. Something like JVC, for example, is one of those things. It's very popular, but it's not very premium. That's okay. 1 out of 2 is enough. But if you get 2 out of 2, so we go to Arabian Ranches 3, we say buy villa, we say 3 bedrooms, 3 to 4 bedrooms. No, we want 3 bedrooms specifically. And we go find. And we've got some options. We sort by newest, not featured. And we go down and see options. Look at this. 21 hours ago, this is too small. So we're not looking at 1,500 square foot. This is not too small, but that's too expensive. So we need to set a price of 3 million. Find that. There we go. That's more like it. Now we look at per square foot. Now you want a minimum of 2,180 square foot for 2.2 million.
Oh,
what is that all about? Okay, now this looks pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Here's the kicker. I'm going to teach you guys 3 things that no one tends to talk about when you're talking about buying, looking for villa listings on your favorite real estate website. Here is it. Number 1, not all the square footage you see is real.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes they put the wrong square footage, so it's always a good idea to go and Google search the floor plan for that project, for that particular unit, and see if that makes sense. Number 2, and this is something I'm seeing more often now, a lot of agents are actually listing their plot size rather than built up area. And in Dubai, we buy things based on built up area because that is what you're living in. You could extend it in the future, but if you want to extend something in Dubai, you need permission from the developer even though you own the property and the land. So you might not want to spend another 100,000 dirhams to expand a villa. You've got to see what the built up area is and see your price to performance accordingly. And number 3, and this is just as important as everything else, whatever you see, like 2,180 square foot is believable and it looks great.
Yeah.
But what they don't tell you is that 300 to 400 square foot out of that is your car park.
Oh, okay.
That is included in the built up area. Some developers are a little upfront about that. Others will just give you an overall figure. So whatever you see minus 300-400 is what it actually is. Which brings this to 1,800 square foot. Still not terrible for a 3 bedroom. Bit small for a villa if you ask me.
Yeah.
But 1,800 square foot is as big as a lot of 3 bedroom apartments. And you get the villa. And you've got a 2-year post handover payment plan. And I know that a lot of these projects are going to be ready this year. So you're not going to waste too much time. Plus you get a payment plan. You know, there's something to be said for it.
Okay.
And if you go down, I'm sure there are, look, this 2.4 million for 2281 square foot.
Okay.
Similar size. So we know that size is not, look at that, 1,900 square for 3 bedroom. That's a bit small in my opinion because that's 1,600 real.
Okay.
I would not do that. I would look for something a little bit bigger because you don't want to compromise on space. You got a dog, you have a kid. You don't want to do that. So now, with the budget that we have, you can look in Ranches 3, which is a great community, set your target, and look, all of these are 3, 4, 5 days ago.
Okay. Yes.
So there are some serious options. Look at, and now we can even go more filters. We can go a minimum property area of, let's say 2,300, right? Or, yeah, let's say 2,300. Let's see what happens. No properties found. Okay. Let's drop that down to 2,200 because I just want to cancel out the 1,500 options. 2,200. There you go. 17 results.
Okay.
3 bedroom up to 3 million. I'm keeping a 3 million specific cap.
Specific, yeah.
You might even be able to extend that. I don't know. If someone gives you a great offer for 3.2, you can have a look at that and you can offer him 3 million.
3 million.
So
Okay,
look
fine,
for
yeah.
something a bit bigger, offer him 3 million, and look for distressed deals there as well.
Okay.
You know why? Because some of these properties are coming close to completion, and a lot of the investors, they don't want to be paying up.
Okay. Yeah.
They want that payment plan and then they want to sell it and
Sell
make
it.
profit. You're the guy they'll sell to and make profit, but that also means you can get value because you're willing to take on that payment plan. So
Okay.
that's your value proposition. And you see there's some options already. But you want to, yeah, this one's got some nice pictures. There you go. Little backyard, nothing huge, I'll admit. These are small townhouses,
Yeah.
but they're options. At least have a look at the floor plan and have a look at whether it's worth your time or not.
Okay.
You may not like it in the end, but now at least you have options. And these options are likely to make a little bit of money in the future as well.
Okay.
Like this one's on the canal. They have a little canal feature in
Okay.
Bliss, and this is right on the canal. That might get a little bit of a premium in the future. You'll just have to make a few phone calls and check.
Yes,
But
yes.
there you go. These are options.
Options. Okay.
Yeah. And like I said, up to 3 million, but let's extend to 3.25 just to see what's there, just out of curiosity. Sort by price high. 2.2. Okay, so maximum 3 million, you're getting 2275. You'll have to see, it's a corner unit. That's why.
Okay.
So this
Yeah.
one will have a bigger backyard.
Okay.
Now you got to see how much he has paid so far, how much premium you'll pay over that, and what the payment plan is. Usually it's a post handover payment plan.
Okay.
So there you go. Now you've got options.
Options. Yeah.
You can look at executive towers, and I know you get good price per square foot, but if you're okay with going near the Silicon Oasis, you can get something before the end of the year. That'll give you a backyard, that'll give you a property that's only going to get better with time. Whereas in executive towers, you will have appreciation, but maybe not as much.
Okay.
And you can go and look for that. But if you go to the Dubai Land Department website, and you see these units,
Yeah.
you can choose that. You can look at what is also 2200 square foot and see how much that actually sold for. Now, again, this might be plot area versus built up area. So you got to call this guy and say, what is the actual built up area? If it's 1500 square foot, then that's going to be small for you.
Small.
Then you don't want that. In which case you go to Villanova, where you have larger units and they are ready now.
Now. Okay.
Which means you can get a loan immediately, etc., etc. So there you go. Now you've got options based on just common sense. We've figured out where traffic is going to be, where you don't want to be,
Yeah.
and because of that, we have options of either you can still go for this apartment in executive towers. We've got a plan for you to be financially secure in the future. And if you go for this villa, the same plan applies. You need 600 now, you'll need 700 later, just in case you keep that aside. And you don't even have to keep it as cash. You can invest it in stocks, but if you think that's risky, that's okay. There are certain mortgages which allow you to have a bank account where if you keep the money in the bank account, they don't charge you interest on the money you keep.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to pay off the loan, but you're also not paying interest. So your EMI actually comes down by that much. It's actually really, really good. I think Rock Bank offers this. You might want to check it out.
Okay.
So we worked out your budget.
Yes.
We've worked out a plan for a devastating future, which we hope will never happen.
Yeah.
But the plan is there. If you follow the plan, you'll be safe.
Yes.
And you know the cool thing about this plan is, if you're absolutely safe, and if the market goes down, but your job is safe, you have money set aside. When the market goes down, you can take advantage and buy a studio tomorrow at a lower rate. That way, tomorrow, God forbid something happens to the market and it falls, you're not, when the market comes back up again, because we know that's happened 3 times now, the market does bounce back. When it bounces back, you're not the guy who could have, would have, should have. You're the guy that actually did because you were prepared. That's the key to investing. Manage your risk, be ready for an opportunity when it comes, and sit tight. Don't look for overnight gains. Don't look for flipping the property tomorrow. You'll be fine.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
That's quite
So
informative.
yeah, hopefully that expands your options. And I'd be really, and for the viewers as well, we would definitely be interested to see how you have gone forward with this.
Okay.
And whether you've actually considered options outside of ET or not. And it's totally fine if you didn't, because we have a plan now. Doesn't matter. But if you did, I would love to follow up with you and see what you ended up getting, what kind of deal you have, and maybe we get a house tour. Who knows? What is your feeling now? Like deep down inside, and just be honest. Be absolutely honest about all, because I've been talking for 30 minutes and I haven't let you speak enough. What do you think?
No, see, I think you have given a new perspective about why not to opt for villa, because we were pretty stuck with an apartment specifically to executive towers.
Yeah,
Because we are here from last 6 years,
that's it. Yeah, I understand.
and it's very difficult to move and look for a change. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely, I think the factors which is the most critical is only the commuting.
Yeah.
But yeah, if that is sorted out, then we can look into buying an villa.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
Yeah.
seeing it's within the budget, and there are multiple options. New development is coming up,
Especially
and-
Villanova,
Yes,
there
yeah.
are some very price sensitive options.
Okay.
One thing I forgot to ask you, which I kind of know it's okay with you, but this EMI,
Yeah.
is it less than 50% of your combined salaries? Because both of you are working, right?
Yeah. So this EMI would be in the range of 20.
15,000 a month.
Yeah, would be around 20% of our
20%. That's great.
Yeah.
Because what I always tell people is
Yes.
if it's ideally less than 30 or 25%,
Yes.
it's good because you're still, let's say you're living on 50% of your salary
Hmm.
and you're saving 50%.
50%.
Let's just say if you're saving more, hey, that's fantastic. But
That's-
if you're, sorry, was
That's
that?
not going to happen in Dubai for sure.
I mean, that's Dubai, It depends on how much you earn, to be fair,
Okay.
right? There are some very, very well to do people out there. But if you're only spending 25% on
Yeah.
your mortgage, it means you're saving another 25%. That can go towards the reserve fund,
Yes.
but that can also go towards other investments.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, it's just generally your quality of life doesn't depreciate.
Yeah,
So I knew you had it sorted because you came in with the figures. So I knew you were absolutely sorted. But now we've got some real figures to go by. I will send you a little text message, or I'll send you an email if you share your email with what we discussed
Yeah,
today.
sure.
Some numbers, some
Yeah.
rough numbers,
Yes, definitely.
and but I think you've got the gist of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Means we have a new perspective where to look in now,
Yeah.
and definitely the backup plan is good one. We never thought of that thing,
Yeah.
because at least we know what maximum we should expose ourselves.
Exactly.
We should not be going overboard.
Exactly. And look, I'm not saying you can't take more risk.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm saying, like you said, 10-20% more. That's fine because your outgoings are, like you said, 20% of your total income.
Yeah.
In any market in the world, you can afford to take more risk. My job is to give you a plan that people on the other side of that screen are watching.
Yeah.
They might not
They
have
might
that much of fudge factor. They might not have that much leeway. For
Yes.
them, this plan will work. For
Yes.
you, you can spend a little more if you wanted to.
Wanted.
You'd still be okay.
Yeah.
Genuinely, you'd still be okay. I'm also curious as to what your wife thinks, because here's the thing: it doesn't matter what you
What?
think. If your wife has a different idea, then all of this is useless. I would love to hear from her. I don't know if she wants to be on camera or not, but do you have an idea of what she might say, what her ideas are?
I mean, we both were thinking that we should stick to this executive towers only.
Yeah.
Because same, her office is also near to my office. But we go in different. The timings are different.
Yeah.
So we go in both cars. So, and again, somebody has to be close to home, just in case of some emergency, or somebody has to come home on time to take care of the kid, and
Right.
because there are other commitments and also things.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, if the commuting time is not it's not beyond 45 minutes,
Yeah.
then it should be fine. Because anything beyond 45 minutes is just waste of our time.
Well, the commuting time I suggested to you was 25 minutes. I know
Okay.
because I actually went and drove there.
Okay.
Just a week back, I drove there, and I came back just to see. I was very interested in that area because I think it fits a lot of people's budgets.
Okay.
And because the commute is not much, because you've got Silicon Oasis next door,
Hmm.
I think it's a valid option for a lot of people.
Okay, that makes sense.
Cool, man. So will we hear from you in a few months, maybe?
Yeah, sure.
And can we follow up with that?
Yeah, definitely.
And if you'd like to know what happens to Saral in the future, you might want to hit that subscribe button. Or if you're watching on audio through a podcast, then follow the podcast. We're not going to stop. We're doing this with multiple people in the future with different scenarios. I guarantee you this will be of value to you because I know you're thinking about it. And I know if I'm wrong, feel free to comment down below because it's important to have the discussion. Remember, guys, it's not about being right. It's about getting it right because this is the real deal. See you next time. Peace.